guys, how's it going? Dango Torres here, and you know what? I am glad to say we made it through 2024. It's been a year, it's been a very eventful year, as always. And I just want to, sort of go over a few things that I've seen that I have experienced this year, a few things that I've learned this year, and a few things that I take away from this year. Um, this year had its ups and downs, as every year does, but these ones were some new ups and downs that I was not expecting at all. Um, Let me see. Where do we start? Let's go to January of 2024. First, let's just talk about what happened as far as my albums, my independent stuff that, I've come out with. I, I hit like 4,000 monthly listeners on Spotify at that point. Justified came out as a single, and that was doing really well, as a matter of fact. This year has been amazing for streams. I had over 30,000 streams this year, 4,100 total monthly listeners, and over, I think, 150 hours of my music. I can't remember exactly the number. Probably more than that. I'm not sure. But it's a lot of hours my music was streamed. I don't remember the numbers much, but it was pretty good year. It was way better than last year. I'll tell you what, 2023 was the first year I started putting music out, and I got like maybe 500, 600 streams in that year, if I remember correctly. I'm not about to pull up Spotify for artists and go prove that right, but I think I was doing really good for for this year especially. After Justify came out, it was only 4 months until TBI came out on May 1st. And I remember when that album came out, I was in New York, and I was actually, we were actually there for family reasons, to celebrate my great-grandmother's life, and to have a service held for her at a cemetery upstate. I'm not going to say which one because confidentiality. And I got to play Purest of All Angels, which was a song that I wrote for her at her service. And I think that, as well as just being up there, I don't know what it was about that place, but it felt like home to me, and I really just felt like I belonged there. And it's kind of sad, because I don't really have much family up in New York anymore, so I don't have much of a reason to go up there at all, really. And I guess New York is not the same place it was, back when my grandparents and, even my great-grandparents were in it, It's become a lot different of a place just because society has become a lot different as well. But yeah, I really, that was a lot of closure for me on that. I'd say that marked the true end of the TBI era, was that releasing the album. It just provided so much closure to everything, and really paying homage to my abuela, my bisabuela, after her passing was what I needed. And because I just remember things being so rough that period of my life. It was such a bad situation to be in. But it really gave me some perspective, Whatever I think something's bad in life, I compare it to my TBI, and I'm like, yeah, we're all right, Shit, I get stressed over little things nowadays, and I really just, need to stop, Because I've been through worse. I've been through so much worse that I haven't even told you guys about, and may never tell you guys about on here. Let's go to next stuff. Upcoming stuff. We actually do have some things coming out pretty soon. A couple of which I'm not going to tell you exactly what, but I've got not one LP coming out next year, right? But I've got, I don't even know how many singles, probably 2, 3, or 4, I don't remember. I've got a few new singles coming out for next year. As a matter of fact, promotion moment, my next single, Drama Queen, comes out on January 20th. And you could pre-save it in the link below in the description. It would mean the most to me. And if you stream it on release day, that increases my chances of getting on Spotify, editorial playlists, and all that such. And that'll get me discovered. Let's see. I have some, hopefully, besides the big LP that I've got for next year, it's going to be a double-sided record, by the way. There's spoilers. I'm also hopefully going to be releasing a new EP of some fresh new music. And I will tell you guys more about that later when the time comes. I said hopefully, so don't get your hopes up. Hopefully means, yeah, I'd like to see that, but I'm not going to count on it. I would really, that would be awesome if we could get out this year, maybe next year after. I'm not sure. Yeah, so that's what I've got, as far as that. And the music streaming has been amazing. Just streaming in general. Of course, I make $12 every 8 billion streams, like Weird Al said in his video to Spotify Wrapped. But you know what? Listen, man, if people enjoy my music and they can enjoy my music in over 36 countries, I'm happy. All right, I make music for those who need to hear it, and who want to hear it. And I'm very glad that you all enjoy my music. By the way, new haircut, military regulation. There's the TBI scar right there, all on the back of my head and everything. Let's go over something else. I wanted to go over just a bit more of a personal thing. It's not like, I'm not about to go into my mental health. This is not a TED Talk. I'm just going to go over some more music-related stuff. This entire video is music-related stuff in some way, shape, or form. But I want to talk about my favorite albums of this year. Start this off by saying every year I'm discovering new music, I'm discovering new bands, new people, new amazing artists who just blow me away sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some bad stuff that I find out about, and I'm just like, I wish I never heard that. But you know what? That's just me being a snob sometimes. I'm going to give you my top 5 albums of 2024 right now. All right, number 1, this is, I'm going to go actually number 5 first. Disraeli Gears by Cream. First of all, I have never heard such an amazing psychedelic album ever. Like, it's right up there with the Jimi Hendrix discography, right there. I'll tell you what, Cream was a band that I just got into this year, really got into. Yeah, I knew Sunshine of Your Love, everyone knows that one, but I didn't really actually get into the meat of it until I read, towards the end of my freshman year, I read Eric Clapton's autobiography. And that's what really was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This music was revolutionary. And you know what? That was before I listened to it. When I listened to it, I was fucking blown away. I had never heard anything like it before. And you'd be surprised, listening to stuff like Tales of Brave Ulysses and, I'm trying to think of some other ones off that album. World of Pain, Tales of Brave Ulysses, even Sunshine of Your Love, There's some really good tracks on the album that I just absolutely love. Number 4, this is an album that I didn't discover this year, but I've listened to it a shit ton. I think more than I ever have this year, which is Stevie Ray Vaughan's Couldn't Stand the Weather. Now, I want to give you a bit of a backstory about this album. This is the first Stevie Ray Vaughan record that I ever owned. As a matter of fact, my grandfather gave me his CD copy of the Deluxe Legacy Edition. The Deluxe Remaster. And I listened to that on my boombox that's here on my desk. And I was like, I'd never been exposed to anything like that before whenever I first heard it. And I fell in love with it immediately. Now, of course, I went through different phases, metal phases, other things, punk, whatever the fuck I fell into. But I always came back to the blues. And when I came back to it and let it sit on the shelf for the year and a half that I was away on my little hiatus of metal, it aged like fine wine because everything just made so much more sense. Not only that, I was so much more educated in music classically. Not classically, but I was, music theory. My technique was a lot better. I was a lot more well-versed on my instrument playing the guitar than I was when I first heard it, I swear to God, some of my favorite tracks of the album, besides his cover of Voodoo Child and Come On and Little Wing, which those are some great Jimi Hendrix songs from, his last 2 albums, but I think my favorite songs off of there, the title track's freaking amazing, first of all. Scuttlebutt is impossible for me to play. I love that song. I have to pull up the album tracks here because I you have these moments when you're a musician and you just forget things. Couldn't Stand the Weather. No, not Cult of Personality. I forgot the O. Okay. Cold Shot. Love that one. groovy. It's the best to whip out the blues jams. I will say my favorite song off of this track, or sorry, favorite song off this album, favorite two songs, because they basically tie. Honeybee and Empty Arms. Honeybee is the most fun fucking riff to ever play on guitar for blues players and maybe for everything in general. All right, arguably, that's just my hot take. I love the riff. I love the entire song. It's just a blues, right? It's a little bit of a changed up blues progression, but it is so good. Empty Arms, I got like a personal connection with that song because I hear it all the time. You know, Green Oaks Tavern, Chris Castaneda, who I play with over there at Green Oaks Tavern, he's, he plays that song just about every night that he's there. And he does a really good job at it. There's actually some videos, one right here, as a matter of fact, of me and him playing it together, I think back in May. And it wasn't even at his blues jam. He just showed up and fucking shredded the house with Paul Ramirez's PRS. And I'm sitting there with my Les Paul. He lets me take the first solo, and then he rips a solo on it. It makes my next solo sound like shit. Which, what I love about not being the best guy in the room is you always learn something. You know, you're always going to learn, what's that lick? You know, how do you do that? And that's why I record every time I go to Green Oaks Tavern. It's like, all right, I need to like write this shit down, or, I need to study. And that's what I do. That's how I get better for the most part. Yeah, that album was really good. I will say, number 3, what I have on here is Jimi Hendrix, Axis, Bold as Love. That's right up there with Disraeli Gears as like my favorite psychedelic albums of all time. It's a classic. What can I say? It's got Little Wing. It's got If 6 Was 9. It's got Spanish Castle Magic. It's got Bold as Love, title track. And it's got so many bangers on there. And I swear, if you just sit back and you just listen to some Jimi Hendrix and just like chill out, just like not do shit, it's one of the best things you could ever do for your spirit, for your mind, and for your body. It's one of the best things you can do. Just listen to some psychedelic, 60s psychedelic rock, and it's like some of the best, in my opinion. That's just me. That's because I'm a blues, psychedelic rock / blues head right now. Number 2, Albert King, Born Under a Bad Sign. 10 out of 10 album. Has some of the best blues tunes, some of the most classic blues tunes. And Albert King in general, this year I have not gotten into, let me just tell you 3 artists I got into, 3 blues artists I got into this year. Number 1, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Number 2, B.B. King. And number 3, Albert King. Albert King, his music is something else, because I'll tell you what, even though everybody copies his guitar licks, even though everyone's done that bend up to the fifths, down to the fourth, minor third, and then the root, it's just so great to hear, where that actually came from. And his music, not only his guitar playing, his voice is amazing. He has really good, like a sense of rhythm and feel. That's, as it's kind of a have to as a blues player. And he also knows how to serve the song. And I guess that's part of the feel, but his music speaks to me. His music gives me perspective to where I can see myself in those shoes. Born Under a Bad Sign, the title track, is my life in one song. Like, I've been on my own ever since I was 10. Bro, why do you get the number right? Come on, bro. Hard Luck and Trouble, Been My Only Friend? Oh my God. Like, I'll tell you what. As the years go passing by, Born Under a Bad Sign, Kansas City, The Very Thought of You, which is a cover, but still so good. And I Almost Lost My Mind. Those are my favorites off of that album. And there's just so many good songs in that album. It's amazing. Now my number 1 album of the year. Actually, no, let me do an honorable mention. B.B. King, Live at Cook County Jail. No skip album. Absolutely the greatest B.B. King album, in my opinion. Just chef's kiss. And it was filmed at freaking Cook County Jail in Chicago, bro. Like, it's the feeling. It's the vibe. You can experience it with your ears. Like, you can imagine yourself. I sit back and I close my eyes. I imagine myself in the audience of that jail, Just watching one of the greatest blues singers ever. If anybody has a recording of that concert, I have $50,000 with your name on it. Unless it's publicly available. Otherwise, you could kiss my ass. But that is a 10 out of 10 album. I absolutely love it. Actually, that's how I got into BB King, was listening to the album. Just that album. And I listened to that on repeat for several months, and I learned every song off of that album. Just as I did with Couldn't Stand the Weather and, what do you call it? Disraeli Gears. All right, here's my number one album of the year. Opeth, Damnation. Now, I didn't get into Opeth until this year, or maybe late last year, but Opeth is probably like my favorite metal band right now. And this isn't even a metal album of theirs. This is like their soft, like very like more conventional songwriting album, but they're so creative. This album has such a melancholy feel to it that just resonates with me so deeply. I can't even describe it to you. It's gotten me through so many like tough times this year, ups and downs. Like I said in the past, this album has gotten me through it all, and I still listen to it just about anytime I'm feeling sad. Just the album. I don't even play like one song. You know how there's a lot of people, I like Window Pane, or I like Weakness, or I like Hope Leaves. No, I like the whole album. I just like Damnation. Every single song off of that album included. That has been such a beautiful album. It's a perfect album. I mean, compositionally, songwriting wise, the melodies, the transitions in between the songs, and again, just the overall feel of it is just it's like a beautifully depressed feeling. And that's what I love about it so much. It's like Radiohead if they actually paid attention to their songwriting. No offense, Radiohead. I loved you when I loved Nirvana, but not anymore. Okay, now let's go into something next. Those are my 6 albums of the year that really just changed me as a musician. And I cannot be thankful enough for the position that I'm in. I just want to say this, to where I can do what I love and I can make a living off of it. It is one of the biggest, greatest blessings of my life, be able to do this and make money off of it. Let's go to the next thing I have on here, which is my takeaways from live shows this year. I will say I've done quite a few live shows this year, whether it be, blues jams, whether it be my own gigs, or whether it be session gigs. And I have taken away so many different things. I will tell you this, my biggest number one takeaway from playing live shows in general: don't expect perfection. Especially in session gigs. You're playing with so many different people who you don't know from around the world, literally. And you're going to have so many times where you just feel like, oh shit, I don't want to fuck up this, or, this drummer sucks. Well, guess what? You're working with musicians you've never worked with before. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I'll tell you what. There's this one gig that I played back in, I think, July. No, it was June. Where this drummer was completely just not my style. And I said, oh, he's kind of trash, you guys don't have a better drummer? He said, just listen to the music, man. The guitarist just said, just listen to the music. And we keep playing, and they're playing this one song. This drummer does this fill that I didn't even catch. But looking back at the recording, it was insane. Like, the crowd went fucking wild. And, it's just... What the heck? Sorry, my computer's bugging right now. It went from, like, nightlight mode to, like, normal to back to nightlight mode. I don't know what's going on here. But, it's really all about being open-minded and being considerate of other musicians. You're not the only musician on this planet. You're not going to have all the time in the world to do everything you want to do. So just enjoy what you can, Live shows is the best way to get yourself out there, in my opinion. And I have more people who have owned copies of my albums than I do people who have ever streamed me on Spotify. I'm saying I've done more solo shows than I have with bands, and that's where I sell my albums. That's where I sell, my merchandise or whatever. Mostly just CDs, to be honest with you. I don't sell shirts because I have to buy them and then sell them for like twice the price to make any money. But it's one of the best things ever when you know there's just somebody out there who's just fucking blasting TBI on a cassette or a CD going 90 miles an hour down I-35 or something like that, you know? Like, oh my God. Are you kidding me? I honestly, I didn't think my music would reach people the way it has now. And I'm so glad it has because that's my goal. I want to reach people and I want to touch their hearts with my music and the experiences I've gone through. And so maybe that can help somebody through their life, and maybe that can help somebody, maybe that can resonate with somebody the way music resonates with me. I mean, I listen to my own stuff and I have a personal connection with it, right? I'm not going to like glaze over it and glorify it and everything. It's something I wrote. I only write stuff and I only put out stuff that's good. Well, not to say I only write stuff that's good. I only put out stuff that's good. If I don't think it's good, there's going to be some revisions made if it gets put out, you know? I honestly, it's just the best feeling you could ever have as a musician, as a working musician, is playing a show, whether it be with a band that you don't know, that you do know, or just by yourself, like in somebody's backyard or, you know, at a music hall, you know, and just absolutely being synced in with your audience. It's the best feeling in the world, and there's nothing that can replace that feeling. Nothing. That's better than losing your virginity, winning the Super Bowl, World Series, winning $1 million, graduating as valedictorian, which honestly I really don't want to care to do. But you know what? Hey, listen, you got to appeal to everybody at this point because I'm trying to relate with you guys. There is nothing better as a musician. To put it in perspective, there's nothing better than being completely locked in with your audience, and your audience is completely connected with your music. That is the best feeling in the world, and that's how I know, by my standards, no matter how many people are listening, I've made it. If I can lock people in like that, you could lock one person into your audience, you could lock 1 million into your audience. Only factor of that, money. That's something I don't have a lot of. I'm not a poor, broke guy, but I'm a musician. That means I don't have money naturally. Okay, what are we talking about here? It's 2024. Let's talk about something else. I have a few more topics before I go, just about 3 or 4. Let's talk about some struggles, all right? I'm going to get down to the dirt of trying to find a band, and when I realized I needed to just do solo shows. I will say this year, 2024, was the year I actually started looking for a band again. I think it had been over a year and a half since I had done anything with a band, which was the Lost Causes. I talked with other people before who were like, hey man, let's start a band, you know. I turned into babysitting and it turned to not serious practice or whatever, so I just sort of just left it, you know. And finding a band is harder than you think. You got to have the right connections. You got to be in the right place at the right time. You got to have the right marketing opportunities, right networking opportunities. I mean, I'll tell you what. It took me a year and a half to find a band after the Lost Causes, and that was just me going through life. And you really can't rush finding a band. Otherwise, you know what they say: if you go to a grocery store while hungry, you're not gonna grab what you want. You gotta let the band come to you, and you just gotta keep working on yourself as a musician, and they will find you, and they'll like you, and you'll probably find some of the greatest musicians you've ever played with for you. The thing is with a lot of musicians nowadays, and I think maybe it's with everybody, but especially now, because money is extremely more important than it ever has been. And I think a lot of musicians now, especially with the age of social media, they just play without passion. They just think, oh, I'll just play a bunch of notes and I'll get recognized, you know, or I'll get this gig if I just play something with a bunch of notes. And sickens me to my stomach, you know. I hire people who are good people who can play their instruments. You got to have both. My standards are that high. And you know what? If you're a good person, if you're not a dickhead, you're not a fucking money hog, and you're not going to just take a bite out of my money and then play a billion fucking notes, then you know what? You're good in my book. But I will say I have many connections with many drummers in my area, the Houston area. And I've been through some drummers that have been good. I've been through some drummers that have been pretty shitty. And you know what? I'm not with a good drummer at the moment because of ideological differences. They're just very, very specific standards. It could be ideological differences. It could be the level of their playing. I have very specific differences, very specific standards for that kind of stuff. And you know what? That's because I like hearing my music played right. And I don't like perfection. Of course, I'm not looking for that. But I am looking for somebody who can play the song the right way or give it justice, Either you're going to play my song or you're going to play it better, than the original. And you know what? I found drummers who can do that very easily. I found drummers who can embellish songs from the softest of my blues ballads to the heaviest of my metal tracks, I will say, though, it hasn't been easy this year making some progress as far as the local, like I'm talking about my side of Houston music scene. I'll say one thing: defamation of character. And I'm not going to drop names in this video, but I will say, I'm not going to tell you what they said about me, but there were some very bad accusations that came out about me that I proved false multiple times, and they kept coming back. I proved them false the last time. They haven't come back since. Thank God. But you know why I wrote Fill the Air? Exactly that, because this has been going on for 2 years. And I've threatened to sue. I've gotten with lawyers, and I'm ready to sue at this point if it comes back. At this point, I'm just like, this has cost me multiple gigs. This has cost me years of mental torment and stress. This has changed the way I think about people drastically. And it's changed who I am as a person. You can't reverse that. There's no amount of money that would fix that, even if I did sue somebody. But I'm pretty grateful those things happen to me. It just gives me a taste of how people are nowadays. Gives me an idea of who society is looking forward to withholding in the next 20 years. And trust me, it's an overwhelming amount of people who are like this. And it's sad. But I don't want to dwell too much on that. I've already gone through it. And I'm here now talking with you guys. So you know what? That means I'm okay. Let's go to the next topic. This is a big topic, but it is probably my favorite thing that I do on Wednesday nights. And that is going over to Green Oaks Tavern. It's in Northeast Houston area, just right outside the city. And it's a great little bar. It's a blues live music bar. They have all kinds of acts going through there every single day except for Monday. They have live music, and it's one of the greatest opportunities I've ever had. One of the greatest things I've found in my entire music career was this little place, and it used to be a courthouse and a jailhouse. Went through several owners after the city sold it in the 60s, and now wound up with Debbie and Steve, who are now the owners, and they are just wonderful people. They allow some wonderful musicians to come there, and on Wednesdays is jam night, and that's my favorite night, because you know what? I go in there, and I always come out with something new, and I always come out with me being put in my place, because you know what? Chris Castaneda, Paul Ramirez, Chris Crochamore, I mean, they don't even have to be guitar players, these are just local legends here. Chris Crochamore, he's from Brazil, but he was in the he won the Houston Blues Society contest, and he went off to Memphis with Marcelo Navis, I think it is. I don't remember the last name, but Marcelo's a harmonica player, and they have a blues duo. They're great. Chris has actually played on some of my covers that I've done at Green Oaks Tavern. Actually, I think if I can, I'll put one up here, but it's a Sweet Little Angel video. He went ham, cheese, and crackers on that solo. I'll tell you what, I got chills. That's why I say I like to record everything I do, because I got to study. Every single move that they do, their technique and everything, that's how I get better, because I don't pay for guitar lessons. I just watch other people play, and I learn. Green Oaks Tavern has been a life-changing opportunity for me. I have learned so much in the span of almost a year. Actually, as the time of recording this video is December 13th, 2024. The day that I went to Green Oaks Tavern was December 20th, 2023. And I had never been to a blues jam before. I had never been anywhere outside my bedroom and my school gymnasium and my grandfather's bowling alley to play music. And that gave me, that place, the people I met there, the things I learned there gave me so many opportunities, opened up so many doors for me. That's how I got my session gigs opportunity. That's how I got these connections with other gigs, with other owners of places that I play at, semi-regularly. And that's really where I developed my chops. It was Green Oaks Tavern. If I'll be honest with you, it was like a competition at one point. I was practicing every day. I was like, okay, I gotta learn that solo, or I gotta learn that technique, and I gotta get, work on my vibrato or whatever. And I gotta work on bending and tune and everything they tell me, because they would be open and I would be open to them critiquing me. After every show, I'll be like, hey, how'd I do? Be honest, don't sugarcoat it. Be like, your intonation might need to be checked on your Les Paul, or, when you did a bend up on the 20th fret, it didn't sound as well in tune as it should have. I'll be like, you know what? Thank you for that. I'm going to go home and I'm going to go work on that. As opposed to being like, well, you're sucked, because everybody gets a chance to play. Who gives a shit? I'm not the best guy in the room and never am. And I don't want to be, because that's when I stop learning. And when I stop learning, I'll quit. That's a Stevie Ray Vaughan quote. I think just going to transition to the next subject here. Green Oaks Tavern, like I said, it got me my session gigs. I sort of just developed my own independent session guitar, recently, my own independent session guitar business, where I come to people's studios or I come to people wherever they need me to go and I either play gigs with them or I record with them, and I have a fucking blast. And I get paid decent money for it too. And session musician world is a world that's sort of fading away. But you know what? The things I learned there, there's so many things you learn there. I played everything from pop to jazz. I played rap. On the guitar. Think about that. I played metal. I've played with so many people who have just needed like a fill-in guitarist, or just wanted somebody to, somebody new, a fresh, set of ears, a fresh set of hands for a new perspective on a song, and they know how to crack a code of a song. But you know what? It's given me a new outlook on music and everything, as just a subjective, delicate, fragile piece of you, And it's given me so much perspective on how everything is, in life. It speaks to me. Music is my way of living. It's my life. It's my liberty, and it's my happiness. And I'm already pursuing it. America. And I love it. I love every second of everything that I do that's music related. Session playing, has been a great way to get put in my place. I remember I was playing with this jazz duo who was like, you know what, you just play a solo, I'll play I'll track a solo after I do this rhythm, whatever. And I was like, okay, so I do some little, it's like in the key of F sharp or something. I do like some little bluesy solos, some like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Albert King stuff. And they're like, that's pretty good. It's pretty good, And so they keep that on the record. And then this guy, he goes freaking crazy, like like some Les Paul shit. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the craziest thing ever. I've never seen anybody play because I'm not well versed in jazz, I know music theory, and I guess, that means jazz is relatively easy for me to do as far as like decomposing it and sort of just breaking it down and playing it. But, when you've got people who just sort of go and don't stop, it's crazy to me. It's absolutely insane. Now, I'm not always a fan of fast playing if it's got no feel. But jazz has its own vibes to it. You can play any note in the entire chromatic scale and plus microtones, and you will sound amazing if you actually. It's the technique, man. You got to have the technique. If you can't play fast in jazz, you might die. It's the same thing with metal, just without all the distortion pedals and the double kick pedals. And it's given me, it's new perspectives, and I've also contributed to my inspirations. It's also contributed to my inspirations in playing and everything. One last thing. I want to sort of wrap up everything we've done in this video by this one topic. We've talked about my favorite albums of the year. We've talked about the stuff that I've released, the stuff that I have coming out. We've talked about Green Oaks Tavern. We've talked about my struggles of this year. We've talked about session playing. I want to just wrap this up by talking about the blues and my relationship with it and how it's grown this past year. I used to think the blues was an amazing, still think it's an amazing genre. I've always thought it was an amazing genre, but I never learned to appreciate it until really this year. And I think it was maybe the latter half of 2023 is when I really started getting into the blues. Really, it was like December of 23, November of 23, when I got into the blues and I wrote Feeling Down Blues, and I did so many other things blues related instead of just playing rock and roll and being the metal guy or whatever, subpar metal guy that I was at that point. Gave me a new perspective, It told me so many things. It's so honest with me, talking about like as a person, but the blues really is just about how you can sing with your instrument. They say, oh, it's about feel. It's about, it's about playing slow notes and not playing fast. No, it's about how you can sing with your instrument. You could sing fast. You could sing slow. Like I just said with jazz. You can go slow, you could go fast. It's up to you. You could play, really, the blues is your world. It's your canvas of everything that you want to paint with. As far as playing, soloing, you could, yes, it's 3 chords over, the same 3 chords over and over again for about 5 or 6 minutes usually, or, sometimes longer for me, but you can really make it your oyster, and it's my favorite genre. I can't live without the blues, I mean, every day I go through and I listen to the blues, and I feel the blues in my soul, not just through the music, but through going through life. Life is the blues, and it's grown me so much closer. Once I realized that, it's grown me so much closer to the music. And it's really made me pay attention more to the music. And it's so revolutionary how the blues has changed me as a person and as a musician. Thank you all for a great 2024. This year has been eventful. Again, it's had its ups and downs. But listen, we've made it. We're doing fine. I love you all. If you're here, if you're new, thank you for being here. Consider subscribing. Consider listening to my music, buying my merch. Links are in the description below. But if you've been here since day one, I love you so much. Thank you for supporting me all these years. Because you know what? Back when I was uploading Nirvana covers on here, fucking 3 years ago, that I now deleted, I didn't really know where I was going in life. I was still in that TBI phase, still going through the brain injury, and I didn't know what was going on in my mind. I just sort of wanted to do this thing because it was the only thing that was really keeping me from putting a knife to my neck, playing music. And it's grown me so much closer to everything that has to do with music. It's my passion. It's my way of life. I will see you all in the next video. And I'll see you guys in 2025. I can't believe I'm saying that. It feels like yesterday I was doing the 2024 channel trailer. I'll see you guys later. Good night. Have a great one.